Alright guys, gonna do this repair video here for maybe try and save some people some money. Pretty much recommend what I'm gonna show here as just a quick fix until you do get your new shafts, because this could be an issue for you down the road, but I spend a lot of time working at this and I tend to be able to get them almost perfectly back to straight. So what we're talking about here is the V450D01 main rotor shaft, and what I'm doing is I'm seating it into my 18-volt drill and making sure that it's perfectly seated and round in there, whereas you can see the tip of the shaft is wobbling all over the place. And the main method I use to line up and make sure it's back to true is and I try and mount it at the tip of the other end of the shaft, you know, basically leaving as much of the shaft exposed as possible, so that way you can tell where the bends might actually be. But usually the bends don't go much past this little key mark here in the middle. You know, that's where the locking collar goes to keep on the bearings there, so everything's usually bent above that. So what we're going to do is, after seating the shaft in the drill and making sure it's straight inside the drill itself, I put it behind a white background or just anything where you can see, and I try and look through that little hole right there and make sure that as it's spinning, that hole remains round, perfectly round as possible. But right now the whole head wobbles just dramatically. You can hopefully see that on camera, and speed it up and slow it down so maybe the frame rate on the camera can follow. So what we're dealing with is, right now I'm using I believe it's a number 5 in my little drill index here, which is just a slightly bit smaller than the shaft itself. I drilled 5 holes. Now you're gonna have to bear with me because I haven't been able to really isolate the vibration from this with the camera, so the screen's probably going to shake around a little bit at first because I'm going to try and hold the camera, but we'll see. So you can see a lot of wobble here in the shaft as you're going in and out in the first hole. I like to go ahead and just put force, sideways pressure, you know, and just go up and down in the first hole like this. And the whole purpose here, we're just really going to be feeding the shaft. And, you know, these holes actually feel just a little bit too small. I mean, too big. So, yeah, they're not very tight. So I'm going to go ahead and go, and just bear with me because I didn't really expect it to work out like this. But I'm going to go another size smaller on my drill. Okay. Now, I don't know if I'll need all 5, but I usually start with 5 holes just because they do wear quicker than, the harder the wood, the better. This is a pretty hard piece of wood. The last piece I used just wore the holes right out. Alright, that's much tighter. So, just going to run it in there to heat up the shaft. And, just let it run in there. Like I said, you can pump it up and down. It'll start truing the shaft back the way it was, and then I'm going to go to the next subsequent hole. And I'm also applying just a slight side pressure as I'm going up and down too, to press against the sidewall. And you can still see there's quite a bit of, so I'm going to bend a little in here. You might even be able to see the shaft flexing in this hole. But that's alright, that's what I'm looking for. I am actually bending the shaft back to what I feel is true. And by this last hole, I usually got it pretty good, but I've been doing this for a while, so I kind of just know how to feel the shaft out. I use just a little screwdriver, poke the hole out here. Get the background, and let's see if we got a slightly more straightened shaft, if not perfect. That, I just don't know if the camera can see very well, but that's almost almost back to true. It's not quite. Yeah, it's not quite right yet, but that's the general concept. And if you keep working at it, you can eventually work that shaft right back to perfectly true. Or, yeah, 95% true. I don't think you can ever get it back perfect, but yeah, you can try.